The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to another exciting episode of In Conversation with Alethia. I am your host, Alethia O'Hara Stevenson. In each episode, I sit down with amazing individuals from our community who are doing incredible and inspiring things. The show will educate, it will empower you, and it will inspire you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. In the studio with me today, I have an amazing individual. He is a captain in the Canadian Armed Forces. He is a community member, community activist, active in so many ways, board member of Dufferin Caledon Victim Services, minister in North Peel Church, and a member of Get Outreach Works nonprofit organization. His name is Captain Kevin Junor. Captain, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great being here to have a conversation with a VIP.
I think you're the VIP. I'm looking at your resume, and your resume is absolutely incredible. And, you know, I touched on all of the community things, but I didn't really touch on the man, the individual. So before we get into the show, just share with our viewers a little bit more about Kevin.
Kevin, I'm a simple guy. I'm a husband. Mm-hmm. I'm a father. And I'm a guy that just I want to live to what my mom's motto was: if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living should not be in vain. So if I can help somebody as I'm doing something and it's beneficial, then God bless you.
That's incredible. And, shout out to moms. I always say, moms do incredible things to inspire their children. So that's amazing. I want to transition into, your career journey, because of course this episode is about, excellence in the military, in the Canadian Armed Forces. So tell us a little bit about your background, your story. How did you get involved in the Canadian Armed Forces?
Kevin, at 17, was walking through the halls of City Break Collegiate in Scarborough. And the recruiter, Sergeant Wayne Johnson, he was in his kilt, looking sharp, in the Scottish Regiment, the Toronto Scottish Regiment. And he came up to me and he goes, come on over. And he said, I'll give you a summer job as long as you want it. So here I am, a 17-year-old, heading toward the summer, an athlete. I said, why not? Mm-hmm. My question to him was, do I have to wear that skirt? And he assured me that I wouldn't have to wear it. I'll tell you right now, he's a liar. Because as soon as the summer was over, I was measured for my kilt the first time.
Okay, we need to find pictures of you in a kilt. That is a story by itself. So you were able to join the Toronto Scottish Regiment, and if memory serves me correctly, you received a significant honor as part of that establishment.
Yeah, throughout my career, I was blessed to do a number of things. Mm-hmm. I rose to the rank of Chief Warrant Officer, which is the most senior rank for non-commissioned officers, and I was appointed as Regimental Sergeant Major, right, who is now the senior advisor to the commanding officer, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Responsible for dress, deportment, the career management of the soldiers,
right.
The development of junior officers. So I did that and moved on to being a diversity advisor across the organization, up to including the chief of the defense staff, who was at the time. And I was awarded with the Order of Military Merit, mm-hmm. because of the work that I did. And it was actually presented to me by the Governor General, Michael Jean.
Oh, that's
at
impressive.
The time. So
wow.
It was, I think that was the crowning glory of my career,
right.
Especially being a black person in the military and the Governor General at the time being black.
That's incredible.
Right? Yeah,
I have chills just hearing you tell that story.
It was a humbling experience, and she made a statement that really made me think. And you know, when I looked at her as a Governor General, and she as a powerful person, right? And she looked at me. She goes, "I'm in this position because of people like you."
Wow.
Right. And at the reception, she went on to speak a little bit more about it. But again, a conversation that I will never forget.
That's quite powerful. And I imagine, you know, that statement led to the fact that just because of you, but all of those other individuals that paved the way for you to participate in the military. And I think the number 2 Construction Battalion is something that's near and dear to your heart. And, you know, you talked passionately about that. Can you just share a little bit about how that paved the way also for your record in the military?
The number 2 Construction Battalion, it's an awesome story. It was a well-kept story, but it's out in the public now. Here we have World War I broke out, and black men across Canada wanted to do what was right. They wanted to fight for Canada. And the government of Canada basically said, it's a white man's war. You're black, so you don't fit. And they were turned down. But being the individuals that they are, they went and they fought against the system. And eventually, for a number of reasons, the government decided that they were going to have what they called a segregated unit.
Right.
So the black men of the day, they said, we didn't want to join the army to be a segregated unit. But because of their commitment to fighting for their family, fighting for the king and country, they decided, okay, well, they'll do it. And a key individual, Reverend White, you can say anything about black folks, but when it comes to religion, our religious leaders are very influential in our lives, in our decision-making process. And Reverend White was able to convince a lot of the men that regardless of being in a segregated battalion, that they should fight. So the battalion was struck. The difference with them is all the officers were white. Right?
Wow, okay.
So you've got all the black men doing the work, commanded by white men. And when they joined, they weren't treated like soldiers. They weren't given weapons like all the other soldiers. Right? They were given shovels, picks, axe, and they were more of a forestry unit. They did logging, they built trenches, they did construction, right? So they established what I call a baseline for us, a good foundation. So we were able to join the military standing on their shoulders. Now, there are a few other individuals across the country that were able to be accepted into other regiments, right? But, that was a minority. The majority of black men who served at the time were in the number 2 Construction Battalion.
Wow, that's incredible. And so their foundation, laid the way for you to be able to join, of course, through the Toronto Scottish Regiment. But because of that level of excellence that they established then, the level of excellence that you demonstrated throughout your career, you were able to climb the ranks, warrant officer to now captain. And I'm sure there's a few other roles in between. Is it uncommon for black men in today's age to attain such heights?
It's not uncommon. The challenge still exists. The challenge of racism, right? It's still prevalent. And I've had a number of individuals who would still call me and said, sir, I'm going through ABC. And my role at that time is to be an advisor,
right? To
advise them how to move forward. Because even though promotion should be based on merit, we find that the statements that are used in the annual evaluations, right? It's not necessarily the same for some black men as it would be for a white, their white counterpart.
Right.
Right. So there's some words where, you know, they'll say, for example, an individual, well, you know, you've got an attitude or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes you develop a bit of an attitude when you're not being treated fairly. Right. We have individuals who are having mental health problems or just health-related problems because of racism, mm-hmm. right? And that's been identified now. So even though they have the capacity to be able to move through the ranks, there are so many other challenges that they have to face. Just like the number 2 construction battalion, mm-hmm. you know, they had to fight for the right to fight and spill their blood on foreign soil. We still have individuals within the military now who have to stand up for their rights. Right. Right. Now, the policies are in place, right? If you check the policies across the organization, mm-hmm. right, all the right policies are there, but the accountability to hold people to live up to the policies, that is still a challenge.
Wow, and that is so key because that's the same theme that we hear across organizations, right? You know, you have policies, but in order for you to effect change, you need to have that accountability in place. And not only that, but the metrics to make sure that you're measuring and you're moving the needle forward. And
the metrics that you find in the military, now, the policies that governs us, mm-hmm. It looks at the demographics of Canada, and I'm not sure what the percentages are right now, but what they're saying is, let's say if the average is 25% blacks in Canada, well, they're saying, well, the military should reflect 25%, mm-hmm. right? But we should also be aware that not everybody want to join the military.
That is true.
Right? So we might not hit that target. Right. But are we doing the right things to be able to attract individuals? And when we attract them, are we doing the right, are we treating them right? Mm-hmm. Are we leading them right in order to retain them? Right?
That's the key.
Because we can go on a first date, but is there going to be a second date?
Right, yeah.
Right? And if you look at it, a career, there's a statement that people don't leave an organization, but they leave the leadership. Right?
Absolutely true. Now, you know, I'm curious to see what the stats are, not just for black women, but women in the military in general. You know, do they experience the same type of barriers as, for example, black men, or different?
There are barriers, but I think they're different. Mm. And there are certain, for example, in the infantry, right? In the infantry, you basically have to carry everything that you use to live with, mm-hmm. right? So you've got a rucksack on your back. And when you become a sergeant major, you are probably carrying a rucksack which is about 70 to 80 pounds or more. Wow. Right? The average soldier, when we do a regular test, you're carrying 55 pounds on your back. So that can be a challenge. Mm-hmm. Let's say you've got a small person.
I'm going to hold you right there and pause for a quick break, and we'll pick up the conversation when we return after the short break. So again, I'm in the studio with Captain Kevin Junor. We're going to take a quick break and return with more conversations about excellence in the military.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to out-of-market regular season games with all games available in HD. Don't miss the action from the games you want from both the American and National Leagues. MLB Extra Innings, part of the Super Sports Pack. For only $35.95 a month, Rogers customers get all this for one all-inclusive price. Order using your remote starting on channel 431 or visit Rogers.com today.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back to In Conversation with Alethia. I'm in the studio with Captain Kevin Junor. We left off the conversation talking about the rucksack and, you know, what women in the military have to carry. So, Kevin, finish your story and then we'll transition into all of the exciting things that you've been able to do in the military.
It presented a different challenge, right? And I think the organization has to be at the point where we understand that although men and women are equal in getting the job done, at times we have to look at the standard and make sure the standard is equal.
Okay.
Right? And there's what's called universality of service, right? Where the military had to go through and look at all the different trades to make sure that the bias is removed out of that. So men, women will be treated equally. So at this point, we're looking, I think the military is looking really good in removing a lot of the barriers. There's still some challenges, and if you listen to the news, you can see what's going on in the Canadian Armed Forces right now. But the good thing is it's being addressed, and I believe the forces will come out better on the other side of this.
And that's great news to hear, right? Because again, it shows the transition and the growth and progression of the military and how the organization or the institution itself has been able to evolve over time.
Right.
That's incredible. I mentioned that I wanted to talk about something more exciting. So through your journey with the military, you've had the opportunity to travel to some really exciting places. Can you share with us what that experience was like and some of the amazing places that you've been able to travel to?
The colonel-in-chief for my regiment at the time was the Queen Mom. Right?
Oh, wow.
So when the Queen Mom was our colonel-in-chief, I was given the opportunity to go to England for her birthday celebrations, right?
Wow.
So you can imagine her 90th or 100th and her funeral. I was able to travel to England to celebrate all of those, right? The 100th birthday was probably more impactful because I was able to take my entire family. And I was given the privilege to watch the changing of the guards from a vantage point that I never thought I'd ever see. Because of my position and talking to my counterpart there, my family was able to go on the grounds of Buckingham Palace, right, to watch the changing of the guards. My children were running around like they were in their backyard.
Amazing.
Right? While you had thousands of people outside the gates trying to watch this this ceremony. And when it was finished and we're going back, my daughter, who was 9 at the time, she looked at us and she goes, you know, Daddy, we're not rich, but we have access to privilege.
Yes.
Right?
Powerful statement.
I will never forget that. And by the way, whenever I use that, I've got to pay her.
So you can give her on-air credit for that statement. There you go.
Right. So that was, you know, from the ceremonial perspective, going to those 3 events was amazing, right? But as a black man, going back to Africa.
Oh, wow.
Right. I was deployed to Sierra Leone for 6 months. And when I went there, it was almost a religious experience, right? To to step on the grounds of the ancestors, right? In Sierra Leone, I was a military advisor. So my job was to provide advice and guidance to the brigade in the northern part of Sierra Leone. But me being me, I just couldn't stay in the box.
Of course, yeah. You had to explore.
So I identified my counterparts, the regimental sergeant majors. There wasn't a lot of development for them. And I took it on myself in my own time to develop a program specific for them.
Oh, wow.
And I tried that out in the northern region. And when the commander, because the mission I was on, it was led by the British, right? So we had a brigadier general from Britain who heard about it and he liked it and he goes, yeah, do what you need to do. And then we were able to sell it to the chief of the defense staff for the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces. And he loved the idea. So I basically was given the opportunity to develop and conduct a 3-day program to develop the senior regimental sergeants majors across the country.
Amazing.
Right? And that was, you know, for me, just what the job was all about. Now, I believe that if I'm going to do something, it has to be sustainable, right? So normally within my position, they all expected me to deliver the training. But what I did, I allowed the other individuals that I was mentoring to actually co-facilitate with me, right? So they had the capacity to deliver it on their own after I was gone.
Amazing.
Right?
Wow. that is creating opportunities for individuals to be able to empower them, right? To develop them. You're mentoring other individuals to carry on your legacy, essentially.
Exactly. And after I left, that was in 2007. In 2011, that course was being taught again, right? Because that same person was able to lead the instructions on that course, and we developed a shared vision, right? It wasn't Kevin's vision; it was a shared vision, and he owned it. So he was able to go in, and with the Canadian member that was there, they were again able to partner and deliver this program.
Wow. And see, you know, this episode is rightly titled, serving in the armed forces with excellence. And that's a perfect example of, demonstrating excellence in your career, right? If you did not deliver on that level of excellence, you wouldn't have been able to sell that program to, other leaders. You wouldn't have been able to develop and mentor others to be able to continue delivering that level of excellence. So kudos to you for paving the way and, uplifting and believing and living what it means to be, serving with excellence. So, well done.
Well, thank you. When you live your purpose,
yes,
then you go and you see opportunities.
Yes.
In order to serve. For the record, that was 2007. I'm still mentoring and have relationship with the individuals that I was mentoring at the time.
Wow.
Right. So the relationship continued. I think it was as late as last month that we were sending messages back and forth.
Amazing.
Right. So that relationship continues. I was also blessed to go to Jordan. Right. I was in Jordan for 7 months deployed there, and that was during COVID.
Yes, yes.
Right. That brought a different level of challenge and risk, but not only were we able to serve, but Jordan was an opportunity for me to walk the grounds of our Lord and Savior, right? So I was able to do my job as a captain in the Canadian Armed Forces, but I was able to realize that the God that I worship as a Christian,
right? Yeah,
walked those grounds,
my goodness.
Right? Let me talk first of all about my job. I was a projects officer.
Right.
So the government of Canada invested a lot of money into Jordan. So working in partnership with Global Affairs Canada, partnership with some of the NGOs that were there, and about 6 or 7 other nations, right? We provide infrastructure and support, again, building capacity within the Jordanian armed forces, right? So we were able to build, I think, about 63 kilometers of roadway along the Syria-Jordan border. And in that, it increases security because of some of the challenges that they had along that area. They're now able to respond quicker because they now have adequate road to be able to address the issues. And the government also funded accommodation for the soldiers that were there. The accommodation that they had before, well, let's put it this way, the average Canadian soldier wouldn't want to be living there.
Oh, wow.
Right? So Canada was able to provide adequate accommodation for the soldiers that are in that region. And probably one of the thing I was very proud of was I had to conduct a gender integration seminar, right? And as you know, gender issues in that part of the country is very part of the world, very different than what we have here in Canada. Right. So the model that we've used over the years since Canada's been doing that is we would fly individuals into Jordan, and we would speak to them about what we're doing and guide them as to how they should implement. And I floated a bit of a different model, right? Instead of us bringing generals and colonels in to speak to them, well, let's build on their experience.
Okay.
Right? And again, they bought into it. And what we did was we now, instead of Canada leading, the Jordanian Armed Forces led, right? So we had sessions where, for the first time, it was conducted all in Arabic.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right? So it wasn't being translated from English to Arabic. We had the leadership within the Jordanian Armed Forces speaking to them in their own language, say, this is what we want, right? Now, the Canadians that were there, Canadians that were there took more of a supporting role. And when they supported, we were able to have a model that we've decided that this is going to be the model going forward.
Wow, that is incredible. And, I think we can spend another hour talking about that, but you touched on something quite powerful about, traveling the path of your Christ. In 30 seconds, can you explain to us what that meant for you before we close?
I was able to walk the path where Jesus walked. I was able to go to the Red Sea. I was able to go to the Jordan River. I stood where Moses looked over into the Promised Land and didn't go.
Wow.
Right? I was able to go to the cave where Lot went. Right? So I walked history. I walked religion.
That is incredible.
I was blessed to be able to do it.
Amazing, amazing. Incredible story, incredible journey, and talking about excellence all around. Excellence in the Canadian Armed Forces. Excellence all around. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on another episode of In Conversation with Alethia. Tune in next time for another amazing episode.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to out-of-market